Hello, everybody.
Hi, Ellie.
No, the School of Architecture, when it was founded, was in Curry Hall, which we call the garage.
Lexus just got here.
Oh, Broadway.
Yes.
Oh.
So that building, I guess, was
Hi, folks. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome. We're just waiting for a couple people and things to arrive, but we should start in about 5 minutes. And I think, oh, perfect timing. So we'll probably start before 7 o'clock with the
yeah.
presentation.
I'm like, when was that?
Sounds good. Thanks. Cannot hear you.
Family member de los Santos. when our constituents
of the materials just got totally messed up. And last month, I can walk here, like in, 10 minutes or 15 minutes from home. I left at 6:10. And at that time, the only thing that was posted to Airtable was the agenda and the resolutions to licensing. I set the minutes for land use at 9:35 that Friday morning. And, I think this is the second time where we're, it's the day of the general meeting.
Mhm,
In some cases, it's the hour of the general meeting and the materials are not posted.
mhm.
Or they get posted at the last minute and you really don't have time to review anything. So I think we really need to have some attention to that.
On that note, I also like to add up that, I don't know if I should say this during our session, but the material for licensing extremely late. Extremely late, and that's not something that should be acceptable.
I mean, Ebenezer's on. I would say, I think that the one thing I've picked up on with these examples is that when, if somebody's like off or, like taking off or half a day, anything like that, having better coordination in the office in terms of like who's going to cover so that the deadline could be met. So like licensing, I knew Noemi was out for 2 days, either it got done before or somebody was gonna, I mean, when licensing is harder because everybody submits stuff that Friday. So in that case, there should have been better coverage. And I think the same thing happened with the general meeting that time around. I think that there was somebody that was out and had some stuff. So that's why it's like, as long as everything can be centralized at the CB12 email, like in that inbox, so that it can just be put on Airtable, because everybody should have access to it. Everything does, but it is, I think, the easiest way for the office and for us to have better timely information versus like 20 emails in a day trying to see where they are.
But it would be easier to send an email with the link to Airtable.
Right.
Because sometimes if you go to the agenda and you click on general meeting, it will take you to Airtable, but sometimes you have to find the link.
Mm.
QR code for the agenda that's on the.
On the screen? I think we added one. On the deck, like in the slide deck, we added one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't always access.
But having the link of Airtable but I would say having the Airtable link on like our emails or what I'm hoping in the fall, like on the calendar invite. So like if we have it on our Google Calendar every month, the Airtable link is there. It doesn't matter that meeting hasn't happened because I know when the day comes, the documents should be there. But in any case, just for tonight, real quick, we have a special guest, courtesy of Alexis. So we're going to talk about Wordly. We have a reso from Steve for when he gets here, and then we have the guidance documents that are going to be circulated this month. I'll put them up on the screen for everyone. So I don't know if Alexis wants to run us a little bit for folks online.
So Wordly is one of the, what do you call it? Reject that one, sorry. I'm just going that way. Yes. Okay, so, this is good, right? Gonna get my Alexify voice on. So, when we were talking about back in January, February about using AI for minutes, we were researching different applications. This is something that Leo recommended. I did have a preliminary call with them. And I felt that it was best that Nicholas would come and just present and tell exactly what they offer. It's really good in terms of translation, but I also want him to delve into the note-taking aspect and also to see if the pricing was a little bit different for government, because it's a little bit high, but I think Nicholas can clarify a lot about it.
Okay.
Would you like me to get the mic on my end now? Is that
Oh,
all good?
yeah, it's all you. Thank
Welcome.
you.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining me, guys. Thank you, Alexis, for reaching out to Wordly, AI translation and captions. So just a quick overview of what we do. We are the leader in AI interpretation and translation for events, meetings around the world. Okay, so we work with large-scale events like Salesforce, Dreamforce, if you guys are familiar with the tech company Salesforce, right? Corporate events, government, schools, higher education, you name it, right? Closest government body to you guys using Wordly for city council meetings would be the city of Yonkers, just to the north of you guys. Okay. We are a New York City schools vendor officially, and a lot of schools in the Bronx and your area are starting to pick up the usage of our product. Our product can be used for a ton of different things. Okay. In your case, it could be used for interpretation and translation for your residents in your community, as well as it will take a transcript, as Alexis mentioned. Okay. You can actually pull that transcript out in any languages after the fact. So we have 65 languages. Hopefully that covers most of what you guys have in your community. And that's generally what we do in a nutshell. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what we do?
I do. So, this is Ciro Medina on the Chair of the Licensing Committee. We have residents and merchants that come to our meetings. Oftentimes they do need translation.
Right.
Late at night, sometimes. How will you get the data or the software to translate immediately? How
Sure.
does it work?
Sure. So Wordly, just think of it this way. As long as it can hear what you're saying, it will interpret, right? So like right now, if it's listening one way or another to us, it will interpret, and you can present a QR code or a link to community members, people who want to follow along, that will allow them to follow along in any language and or with English captions in real time. Okay. So I'm going to show it to you guys. Does that answer your question?
I think
Yes.
Steamit can help too.
Yeah, I'm going to show it to you. No worries. So let me get it up here real quick. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so what you guys are looking at right now is Wordly, okay? It's currently just listening to me. It may pick up you guys as well, but what you're looking at is the interpretation side, is what I'm trying to say, okay? So this is all in English, right? I'm being interpreted in English, okay? If you would like, I'm going to show you how community members would access this, okay? So if you guys want to go ahead, if you have any devices on you, like phones or tablets, you can scan that if you're able to scan that QR code to follow along. If not, I can bring up a translation on screen, but I think it'd be cool for you guys to experience it. How many people here in the meeting speak different languages?
Me.
A few of us.
Cool.
So is there like an audio aspect to it? Because a lot of our people are not going to be able to read what is being translated.
Yeah, so they can read in real time in whatever language they like, and or listen. So there's an audio button as well. So if they want to put in headphones and follow along, they can do that as well. And for instance, you guys are pretty much like a city council, right? But for your community. So you could even go to the fact that you guys could separate who's saying what if you wanted to. Not that you have to, but that is also a possibility. So Jose, Chris, Jenna, whoever, they're all speaking when they're speaking and what they're saying.
Director of the People's Theater, y eso mismo, somos el teatro.
Yeah, can I? make
Yeah,
a
go.
comment?
Yeah, go.
I think one comment I have about this, I taking what you just said, that it's able to have different individuals be assigned by their voice, maybe. I guess my question is, in a meeting like licensing, where we have probably 30 to 40 different people speak, I'm trying to see what the value is if we're given this translation, because I think if it's just doing this, we'll still have to go and compare it to, let's say, the YouTube recording to see who was saying each of these things.
Correct. Yeah. So the way it's done is, think of it this way. You just hook up interpretation to each person. If it's 40 people, probably not something you want to do. Okay. The transcripts that come out will directly be able to be uploaded to YouTube. So you can create closed captions in any language. since you just mentioned it sounds like you use YouTube after the fact.
Yeah.
But in terms of interpretation, so what I'm talking about is being able to put someone's name on a specific interpretation stream. So for community member meetings, typically you guys are all going to be speaking English, sometimes differently, but like in California, we have a city council where like 50% actually speaks Spanish at the city council meetings. So that's where it comes into a benefit, right? So when they're speaking Spanish, the other council members can follow along in English and answer, and also the population that's following along.
And when you said 40, you might not want it for 40. Do you mean like 40 speakers or like
Exactly.
40 simultaneous speakers? Is that okay? Gotcha.
Yeah, that you probably wouldn't want to do it for 40 simultaneous speakers, right? But if you look down here in my interpretation, see how it says, Chris. If I opened another one, I could have it say Nick, Alexis, or what have you. So then that way you can keep track. And then one thing that is coming that you don't have to necessarily like name it ahead of time is just disambiguation naturally. So you'll just know that what you're looking at, someone different said certain things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It won't put people's names, but it'll be like 1, 2, 3, because it'll know that heard your voice versus my voice kind of thing.
Carmen, go for it.
Are they hiring? I want to say something.
Hi,
Pretty good.
how accurate is the translation for like nuanced or informal speech?
Yeah, so it actually does really well. So like if you use slang in Spanish, it's going to pick it up. Okay. I could try and test it out now, but there's certain things I don't really know what to say in the context of conversation we're having right now, right? So it will pick up context. It will pick up slang. It's really good at the context and conjugation piece, right? Because what most people are used to when they think of just translation, right, is it just takes the words, right? So like Google Translate, it just translates the words. So if you've ever had a friend who speaks a different language and you try and show them something, they're like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? But the conjugation's off, the context wrong, but I kind of understood what you're saying. Since this is interpretation and translation, a lot of that is built into the interpretation. So it needs to understand what someone's saying before it creates the translation. So if you guys are looking at your phones, I'm just going to show you on my end too.
Yeah.
So if I put this in Spanish, okay, it's going to come up in Spanish for me, just like I had it for you guys. You'll always notice that the bottom bubble here is always moving because it's trying to listen and grab the context of what I'm saying before it has the final translation, right? Once that final translation is done, it will move up to that bubble and the next one will start. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So this is very accurate, this platform, okay? You're not really going to find a platform that does something like this exactly how we do it. You might find some translation systems out there, right? Similar things for events. But this is the best translation you're going to find anywhere. Okay. That's why we have 65 languages, not 300, right? Where some people say, oh, we have this, we have that, right? So it's really comes down to something called BLEU scores, BLEU, and that's for interpretation. And that's how interpretation is rated. So we have a mark where we don't share it, but all of our interpretation languages have to meet that mark before we can even start creating it for translation. And then obviously we have to have the audio as well be really good for you guys, even though it's a self-generated audio. It needs to be good, because not everyone who speaks a language reads a language, right? They may just, be able to talk and conversate. So we need to make sure all those three things go really well for us. So the UN uses us, if that's any testament of who uses us because of how good we are. Any other platform they tried to evaluate hasn't met their standards.
Are the translations or the transcripts, I'm assuming can this be downloaded?
Yeah, so this is all live right now. Like this is the live experience. Wordly is live translation, interpretation, audio. The transcripts are after the fact. So like after our meeting right now, you'll have all of this on your admin console, right? So the people following along won't have it. The minute I end this meeting, it will jump off their phones. They won't be able to save it or anything like that. Now, if they want to open records, FOIL, whatever, and ask for it, you guys can provide it. But you guys will have it, not them. Okay. And it is your data. So this isn't generative AI, right? In the world nowadays, everyone's AI thoughts are actually generative AI, right? Everyone thinks of things like ChatGPT or Gemini and all these other platforms, which are generative AI. Wordly is what we call a transformer model. So it's all SOC 2 certified. That's why it's great for government. It's not sharing any of your data. It's not being sent anywhere to come back to learn. This is all pre-existing language that we're using to get these interpretations and translations going.
And are the transcripts available in the translated language after the fact?
Yep. So I'll go to it right now. You guys are still
Okay.
looking at my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I go to transcripts, that's a different one. It doesn't matter. These are all my transcripts, right? So we're looking at it in English because most of my meetings are in English. Okay. But if we wanted to, we could come here to translate, pick language. Let's do Arabic. Okay. Translate into Arabic. Should take no more than 8 seconds. You'll see it pop up here. Right. Maybe 10 seconds.
I'm watching in French.
I'm doing it in Spanish.
So it will translate that whole transcript. Now it's done. Okay. I can close this out. And when I go to download it, I'll now have an Arabic option as well to download. Okay. And this is where you'll download in VTT type or SRT type. And that is your closed captioning files that you can just upload to YouTube, and it will just pair everything for you because this is all going to be timestamped.
We can
And then I just have one last follow-up question to Anthony's question.
hold on, Luana. Because and Luana's been waiting for a little bit. Let me do Luana and then we go back to you, okay?
We'll go back to-
Sure.
It's more of a, first of all, I'm very impressed by this. And it prompts the question, are you hiring? For a friend, me. Also, thank you for including, well, you only have 2 varieties of Spanish, the Spain and then Spanish Latin America, but the compliment is that it's very neutral, like
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
I wonder, how does the program conciliate variations of, let's say, the same word where one word has one meaning in Argentina,
Right.
versus Mexico versus the Dominican Republic? How does the program?
You should come work for us because literally what you just said is what I say to people because I covered all of Latin America last year because I'm like one of the only people who speak Spanish at the company. So that's literally exactly what I would say to them. That's funny that you asked that. So the Latin American version, actually, we just named it LATAM because it actually was named Mexico for a while, but it does pick up all of Latin America in different words, right? So like in Mexico, the word for bean, right, is frijol, right? In Colombia, it could be grano de café. In other countries, it could be habichuelas in the Caribbean, right? So like it can be different everywhere. So it will pick up most of that, right? So Wordly does a very good job of picking up those nuances. Okay. If you want to make them better, right? So like if you know, like in Washington Heights, you guys have a very big Dominican population, correct? So if there's more words and you're kind of providing more to that community in your area, you can change the words. So the way you do that would be in glossaries. So you have full glossaries to apply however you guys want. So it can be for all your meetings. It can be for if you guys ever do events. Okay. Ultimately, in these glossaries, you can manage them by language and just think of it as your area to fine tune information towards you guys, right? So for like a medical conference, they'll put in medical terms. For an organization that has a lot of non-typical names in their organization that aren't like really real words, they'll put those in. For you guys, you can put people's names. You can put roll call, everyone's name spelled correctly. So when you say them at the beginning of a meeting, it gets them all perfectly correct in the transcript for people to follow along, right? New York City schools, if they use it for graduation, right? Every child's name, we've all been to a commencement ceremony where maybe someone announces it wrong or a little off, right? It will still pick it up correctly and spell it correctly, right? So that's what Boost is for, okay? Block is for pretty much self-explanatory, spicy words, stuff you want omitted if they're said, okay? And then Replace is great for like acronyms, okay? So if we say FBSP, we could have it produce Fórum Brasileiro de Segurança Pública, right? Or if we said BioCatch, and that's the name of our company, and we know it's not just one, continuous word and it has a capital C, we can change that as well. So you can also do that with Spanish, right? Like we were just saying. So if we want to switch frijol to grano de café, we can do that, right? If we say wordly a lot and in Spanish it picks it up a little differently because I didn't adjust it yet, because wordly is not really a real word, it's an organizational name, you can put that in there as well. So that's how you'll manage them if you see a couple things here and there that you want to switch.
Yeah, so this is not my question, but I noticed when you first started speaking and you mentioned wordly in the transcript, it had weirdly,
Yep.
and it changed to wordly. So what allowed it to know that weirdly was not what you were saying? It was word.
Pretty much just the context and how much and what I'm saying. Okay. And we usually have it there in the glossary. So that's probably why it switched. Sometimes I leave it in, sometimes I don't. I like when it produces it wrong, so then I can talk about the glossary and how to fix it. Because wordly is not a word, right? If I pronounce it really sharp, it will get it perfect, no matter if it's in the glossary or not. But if I just say wordly, because I'm from New Jersey and it kind of sounds like whirly, it might not pick it up correct.
Right. So, by the way, my name is Wayne Benjamin and I chair the Land Use Committee for CB12. And in land use, while we're speaking in English, we're using lots of technical terms that are par for the course for architects, planners, attorneys who deal with, land use matters. And I think what you just showed us might be a way to add those terms and acronym to
Right.
glossary, but is there another way that people understand what a BSA or an R72 so we don't keep stopping to explain what we're talking about?
Yeah, so that's the way you would do it. Okay. It would be done through glossaries. Now the system's probably going to pick it all up correctly. You just got to make sure you dictate it correctly, like R72. You see how it said R7 and then TWO. Okay. Still communicates what you said, right? But it may not show like that. So you can adjust that if you want or leave it. Typically it does really well. As long as these are real words you're using, it will work. Okay. It'll work really well is what I'm saying. You might find a little bit if you have like a hyphenated thing, even though I've had chemists come on here and try and, get it to not work, and it's worked fine on some words I've never heard before. So, if you're seeing it in like a land use meeting and it's a little off on some things, you can go in and adjust those if you like for the next meeting or that same meeting. There's no other way, is what I'm saying.
I have a question in Spanish. ¿Qué tan caro es esta aplicación? Y si hay algún descuento para organizaciones sin fines de lucros.
Did you guys all get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you saw it interpreted correctly because I switched to Spanish. Okay. Did you guys see it just switch to English automatically? Yes.
No.
So sorry to interrupt your question. You can ask it again in a second, but I wanted to show that since you talked in Spanish. Okay. Wordly will auto detect language if it's spoken. Now, when you were speaking Spanish, you announced it. So I just switched it manually right here. Okay. And then we went back to speaking English and it switched automatically back to English. So that's when I say interpretation, that's one of the things that Wordly does. It will auto detect. So if you do have a meeting where you guys do drop in some Spanish words or someone asks questions in Spanish, like you have a public comment section or anything like that, it's going to be used pretty well for that type of stuff as well. So do you want to ask your question again? Because I was more focused on switching the language than this.
Okay.
If someone asks a question in Spanish, will it automatically translate the question to English in the
Yes. So most of whoever has their language still up, he asked that in Spanish. It should have came to you guys in whatever language you had in that language.
Oh, like he's saying if we had it in English,
Yeah.
phones.
So the question is actually to you or for you. ¿Qué tan caro es la aplicación? Y si hay algún descuento para organizaciones sin fines de lucros.
So Wordly is priced by the hour. Okay. There is no direct government discount, but you guys will get a discount. Okay. There are volume discounts. So depending on what you purchase or how much you need to purchase, the price will go down. Okay. The price typically starts for $150 an hour. Okay. That would be like at minimum. That would be like if you purchase for a couple meetings, right? You're purchasing hours. So if you had to purchase 10 hours, it would be $150 an hour for 10 hours. So for each hour of those 10 hours. Now, for example, if you purchase 50 hours, you're going to have a 10% discount on those hours. So it's not going to necessarily be 150. It's going to be 10% of 150. This month, I could give you a discount extra if you wanted to, though. So we could call it a government discount.
Our meetings are done, but I have a question. So the number of hours we buy, like it's based on when, let's say we deploy it into the meeting. Does that make sense? So like I guess what I'm trying to say is it's based on the actual usage.
So you pre-purchase the hours.
Okay.
And then you just draw down by the minute. So if you purchase 50 hours for the year, or if you guys are, we need 100 to cover all of our meetings for the year, right? You purchase the 100 hours and then you just draw them down by the meeting, because we know not every meeting is going to be exactly the same amount of time, right? Whether it's city council meetings, whether it's a board meeting. Sometimes it can be 2 hours, sometimes it can be 3 hours, sometimes it can be 6 hours. So you'll be able to pay attention, like, oh, look, we used 50 minutes today, or we used an hour and a half. But you'll have that in a bank. So just in my portal here, if I go to dashboard, we have my bank of minutes. Okay, so you purchase in the hours and then you draw down from your bank of minutes.
Got it. Okay.
But we try and keep it really straightforward. You know, purchase the hours, use them. You're not purchasing anything else. It's all, you're getting everything.
You mentioned that these complications, like different words in different languages and technical terms, are done by the glossary. Is there one glossary, or can you have several glossaries depending on the kind of meeting to have?
Yeah, as many as you want, and you'll just name them. So if you name it, you know, land use meeting, community meeting, zoning meeting, whatever, that's, yeah, you can adjust all glossaries to whatever you need them for. And then when you create your meetings, right now, this is our session, okay, NYC Community Board 12 Manhattan. You would just come into here if you wanted to add a glossary and just apply the correct glossary that you wanted to use.
Excellent.
Awesome.
There's also voice back. So if you listened as a masculine voice right now, there's also a feminine voice you can switch to.
Any other questions?
Another way, Nicholas, my name is Blanca Veda, Chair of Arts and Cultural Affairs. You'll be hearing English linguistics, Spanish variation.
What did you say your position is?
Chair of Arts and Cultural Affairs.
Awesome. I actually went to school in college for Parks and Recreation Management, and I worked in Parks and Recreation for about 3 years.
Oh, cool.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I could talk to you about all types of ideas for you.
Yeah. Oh no. So I mean, we go on summer recess. So I think starting this or at the end of this month. So one, thank you, and thank you, Alexis, for scheduling this demo. This is actually really helpful. And we'll probably touch base with our office team. Ebenezer's on and received it, and so that way we can kind of like just talk about it, and we'd have to kind of reconsider how we want to use it based on just the number of hours of meetings that we have and like the demand that we have.
Yeah.
But I'd love to kind of like, even if it's a soft pilot for the fall, would be cool just to
Yeah, Wordly it's easy to purchase. So like typically in government, it's you purchase one price, City of New York City Community Board, or the City of Yonkers, this is the price. With Wordly, you guys can decide what you're purchasing and how much. So it makes it easy. So if you want to do a 10-hour pilot, you can do a 10-hour pilot. If you want to purchase 25 hours, you can do 25 hours. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, you had a question, Mary?
What about meetings that are off-site?
Yeah, so this can be used anywhere, right? So like I told you, keep it simple. As long as the audio can be interpreted, whether you're using in Gainesville, Florida, for a test, they used one of those kids' sparkly karaoke microphones, and it worked. And that was how they interpreted. And they stood on the stage during a Arbor Day event and spoke. And then they just showed the QR code on a screen for everyone who was at the event. So yeah, it works really anywhere you would want it to. It's all browser-based, so it's not app-based. So you can use your phone to interpret. You can use a tablet. You can use anything that connects to the internet that has a microphone or an external microphone.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks,
For
Nick,
example,
again.
right now, you guys have,
still
it
have
sounds
a
like you have
follow-up
microphones in your room,
question,
right? So you could just hook it up to the microphones in your room. You have a cool camera that pans around too. I like that.
Sorry, Carmen, I'm so sorry. Is that I lost your screen?
No, it's okay, no problem. My follow-up question from earlier was, so you did say that it cannot distinguish between speakers. I know Anthony had asked a question about multiple speakers. I just wanted to clarify that.
It can. It's just how you set it up, and
Okay.
if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
Yep.
And the last question is are there any limits to how many attendees can use it at once, or how many people can access the translations during one meeting?
So typically the pricing I told you is up to 50 people all at once. Okay. That means 50 people are needing translation right now following your meeting. Okay. If you guys think you have more than 50 people who follow along to your meetings, depending on the meeting, pricing can change. But we would just talk over those numbers. If it was really that much higher, you guys would just be starting out. You get what I'm saying? So you don't know how many people are going to use this. It's not like a hard cap where it's going to kick people out or anything like that. It's just really for me to price you. So, if you did have 500 people following along every time you had a meeting, okay, we talk about the rate being different. But for now, I think 150 is right. So it goes up to 50 in the first tier, and then it goes to 500 the next one. So.
So,
Daryl?
quick question, what happens when multiple people are speaking at the same time, they're talking over each other? How does?
Did you want to test that out?
Yeah, we
Are
never
you
do
trying to
that.
describe government? I'm just kidding.
How does the system
What do you mean,
reconcile
Ray?
that?
So it's going to do its best. It's going to pick up most of it, but you want to try and not talk over each other, right?
Oh, we've been
It's not
better.
perfect.
We've been better. Come on.
So we're doing it right now. So if you pay attention to how it's following along, right? It got better and then it got me after that. So it's pretty quick. Okay. Obviously, if you guys are loud at the same time and no one can understand, Wordly's not going to understand.
Yeah, go for it, Daryl. I
Um,
think you got the last.
Once you see the transcript, how do you go about editing it? Or I guess
Yeah. So you can edit it after you download it, right?
whatever.
So you have the different file types that you can download it in. Okay. Once you click the download button, they'll come up. So you can select, text with timestamp, closed captioning file types, or just plain text. So basically you can just copy and paste it into a Word or Adobe, whatever you want it to do with it, and then edit it.
Thanks.
Okay, one comment. We gotta wrap up because we have other stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In terms of people speaking over one another, human beings cannot do it until we may not permit it, okay? And the other thing I noticed is because this thing works so quickly, and I work in computer science, it actually can pick up the various snatches and it translates what it gets. But again, we made, as a group, we cannot allow this. And among other things, it's not the way meetings run. So.
No, the question is just how does the system handle that?
From what I can see, it handles it surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't seem to be doing.
That's another, it's being used in the DOE and Yonkers, so those are really good references for us.
Yeah, Yonkers uses it for council meeting. They talk over each other all the time. So to ask them how it does.
I'll check one of them meetings out.
You would want to talk to I forget his name. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again, Nicholas. Really
Thank you
appreciate
for having me.
And have a great night. We'll be in touch.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for having me on. It was nice to meet you all. Take care.
Where did Carmen go? Oh, there she is. Okay. Lisa's back. All right. That was cool.
Yeah. Slide it.
Spanish looks really good, tip top. Impressive.
No.
No,
But if the one.
thank you.
we maybe get-
I mean, we don't have to get into it now, but just thinking of, when we might want to use it. So it might not be for like every single committee meeting in a month, but if you have like certain presentations or speakers, that would be something in the fall that we could do it for, or like our budget meetings maybe. You know what I mean? Just as like a test. Oh yeah, executive, you imagine? So just saying we wanted to pilot it for 150 for 10 hours, but I don't think in general we're gonna use it like at every committee meeting for all the hours we use. But okay. But I'll talk about it with Ebenezer. Let's jump into July talking. Ebenezer's still here. We have folks who may have business so we threw out dates last month for committee of the whole. Are there committees that are meeting in the summer?
Everybody knows it.
Oh, sidewalk is 40.
Sidewalk is 40 and roadside is 30.
Apparently you have 4.
For when? Oh, over the summer?
You got 4 that came in right after your meeting, is what Ebenezer shared. No, it's 40 days plus, I'm gonna assume June 9. Sorry, give me 1 second. July 19th. So you have 4 sidewalk cafe. That 4 sidewalk cafe applications that came in after your meeting. We have between now and July 19th. So I guess the question is, do you guys want to have a small meeting?
No.
So we're not commenting. Okay. Done. I mean, there's sidewalk
We could
cafe.
open here if it's, if needed, because in essence, for sidewalk cafe, the only thing that we emphasize
That is
not
true.
to have any speakers outside.
Actually, hold on, I have them.
Who are the applicants?
So Cabrini 181, refried beans. That's true, we could do it now. Tiny tapas and bites.
Yeah.
And Morelia Mexican Restaurant, 3950 10th Ave. Who's that?
Unless they have like a really bad reputation with the
Made in Mexico.
and or like any committee members and residents that will complain, they will pass. That's practically, I have not seen one yet.
I see the names again.
So actually, Ebenezer, can you print out the sidewalk cafe apps that you forwarded and pass them over? So we have refried beans on 187 and Fort Washington. We have Cabrini, 181 Cabrini on the corner of 181 Cabrini. This one I don't know. Tiny Tapas and is that the new one? Tiny Tapas and Bites, 501 West 214th Street.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And then we have Made in Mexico.
No problem there.
I think we as a board should reach out to the establishments. They may not know that we do not want, amplified sound outside.
It's illegal.
They can't have it anyway, so.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
We have the photos. Oh, this is a new place that was Tabaco. I'm gonna be honest with you with these, and you guys can clarify it for us and the conversations we've had with Paola. Beyond what's in the application, we're not necessarily asking, except to your point, like operational history. So I don't see why we can't vote on them tonight.
Yeah, should vote on it.
Yeah, it's correct. I mean, the application comes with photographs of the sidewalk and the proposed layout of where the sidewalk cafe would be situated. So committee members will typically opine whether there's any concern about too reduced of a sidewalk for passersby. We will ask the precinct if they have any major concerns. We ask the establishment or the operator if they plan on operating the sidewalk cafe at different hours than the establishment itself. But all that being said, it's a reduced application or process than what I would say is the renewal or getting the liquor license itself.
Okay. Let me just text to make sure he can hear us. So, all right, so let's move forward. We'll print those, we'll vote on them along with Steve's thing tonight. Anybody else? Nothing
cannabis. Carmen, did you guys talk
Yeah.
about what y'all wanted to do with that?
Right, that's what I was just going to bring up. No, I haven't had a chance to connect with Nobles, but can Paola request an extension and we just ask them to resubmit it later? I thought that that was something that we had already agreed on in the guidelines. I'm not sure why this keeps coming up.
Yeah. My question too, but it's 30 days. And what's actually weird is
Not
like,
if we resubmit it. If we were doing what we had said in the guidelines, we would ask them to resubmit it at a time.
oh
when
no,
we-
in this case, they're supposed to submit it like after our hiatus. Like they're not supposed to be submitting stuff when we go on summer hiatus.
Right.
But I don't know how OCM, like us, everybody, like for SLA, it's known. For OCM, I don't know.
So,
Let's make it a point to talk about tomorrow.
okay.
Okay, so we'll have the committee of the whole, but I think we should be.
What is the date that we have tentatively scheduled for the
I don't
meeting?
know. It was late July. Oh, it was the same one. The same we said the same cadence as our general meeting. So that would be that Tuesday.
July 29.
Yeah, July 29th.
July 22nd is the 4th.
Oh, 4th, yeah, July 22nd. Okay, cool. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Alexis, for
So,
secretary.
I mean, one of the reasons I asked him to come is because I knew there was no way on God's green earth I would be able to explain that. But I was concerned about the price and the way that I thought it was really, to me, it was expensive, but I figured let him come, let him say what it is, and then maybe want to use it, let's say for certain meetings, and but it did feel like a lot.
Well, it's basically the gold standard. UN uses
Yeah.
it for this.
Yeah. I mean, for our budget, it is. So that's why it's like it has to be on.
Maybe the new mayor will give us more money.
Maybe. Hey, I'm ready. January 1st to start pushing for more CB monies collectively. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, no, based on our budget, like we would not be able to use that for every single meeting. We'd have to be like, and I'm thinking maybe it's a lot. This might be more tedious on our end, but I think similar to what Leo was sharing about like having a form that if you have an event, you pre-fill it out so that you can get funding for committee events. So like let's say it's $500, $200, whatever it is, but like just kind of like a sign up. And we can do maybe the same thing with Wordly, where it's like I want to use Wordly for this specific committee meeting. Because there aren't like it's like chicken or egg, right? Like if we have it, maybe more people will come. If we don't have it and we use it, nobody comes. I don't know. But we can also pause it and like
I mean, I could see using it for my committee when we go to the seniors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And with rezoning.
Yeah.
There's not many other vendors from what Leo sent over, but
It also depends on the quality of the software. I mean, I attended
thank you.
the wake
I don't know
for Congressman Rangel in person, but I caught most of the funeral service streaming
Thank
and the closed captioning in some cases. I mean, just didn't make any sense.
I find Zoom doesn't usually drop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because with you can do YouTube with other languages. So for us, it's really more like the audio piece, and the audio piece is interesting. I mean, it's a AI voice. I think also too, I want to be mindful of, we do want to maintain in-person interpretation when we can, and like support really great interpreters. So I feel like thinking about when we might have more like language diversity, or like bigger crowds, this might be
easier than having like a solo person, you know, that we could afford. But yeah.
Are these all the same?
No,
Oh, so-
these are.
No, these are different. Actually, Ebony's, I'm sorry. So could we get 2 copies? 2 sets, sorry, so it's faster. Leo's out working tonight, chaperoning a prom. So he's not able to make it. But sorry if you're running around, Ebenezer, but I know that the new owls are here. As far as the events go, Mary had her event this month, so from the budget we were able to use it for that. And then I think I might just do like a smaller meet the board, like our board as like end year thing. I haven't been able to how do I say it? I don't think we're gonna have the big meetup we wanted by the end of session, so I think we'll pivot that way.
I mean, it's important.
Oh yeah.
So I was suggesting that if we want to do, let's say, meet up with community boards and 11 us, that I could create a community board night, the show here that we're doing. Park. It's great.
It's also outdoors.
It's outdoors, it's recorded enough. If people wanted to eat, we can make it go with Farlow Shake or one of the other restaurants that is sponsoring. Or I can get one of the days during the Harlem Night Market and ask them if people they want to create like a box lunch, box dinner for a fee, a small fee. That was just an idea.
I would like to suggest maybe this, under this project, you might want to do some indoor.
But that's because that's already happening. It would be kind of like, yeah, additional, and people can go if they want, and gives us. It's like less coordination with 4 boards, and more like, hey, all the boards can just show up if they want. You know,
Yeah, we can
like low stakes.
They can RSVP to me, so I can have a head count and I can cordon off a section just for community board members.
Yeah, okay. I can bring it up on next Thursday.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay.
Oh, now you want it.
No, I want to, I'm gonna look up Marcus Garvey Park.
So that's the treasurer's piece. So then we also have our guidance documents that Anthony has graciously put together.
I'm filling it them.
Thank you.
So we were talking about earlier about putting it on Airtable, and then that way, in the next few weeks or next 2 weeks, I guess, we get, just like so that people on the board are able to review it. You know, so does anybody have questions about the procedures, or like want me to put them on the screen or anything like that? Anything on the screen? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How do we tend to use that document?
How? So each of the executive officer procedures each just expand on. And so the idea is, to the extent something was unclear by the bylaws, we have this document that the board has agreed to is a guidance document, and it holds the individuals accountable.
So it's a reference document.
It's a reference document, but I think it helps the board center what each elected officer's responsibilities are, and will help determine their decision going forward, whether they would vote for that individual again or take more immediate action, especially if the board is voting to approve each of these procedures. That was my thinking there. It also, for future elected officers, reference to those interested in the roles as well.
Perfect.
So something you would get. Anything you want to add on them before?
Not for these procedures, but you know I was also working on like an internal control framework, which I think started as that one's meant for the office staff and started as like making sure we're doing good record keeping, and that there was a consistent way that documents were being stored at the office database. But I think just given the conversation we had at the top of this meeting, perhaps since it's internal controls generally, that could be expanded to include things like making sure things are on Airtable at a specific time for specific meetings. Just so that, again, we have a reference document that we could all ground ourselves to, and the board has expectations of the staff that need to be done. So that could be another thing that document gets expanded into. But that's not a immediate, like these elected officer procedures are.
Yeah, and they're doing the SharePoint training in the summer, so that actually might be really timely.
Yeah, okay, great.
All right. Nobody got anything? Thanks again, Ebenezer.
SharePoint is very intuitive.
I love it.
It's
Sure.
like the Google class of Microsoft.
Perfect.
Very.
All right, we got extra set copies.
This side we got made in Mexico and tiny tapas on this side. The other two we need on the.
So refried beans and cabrini.
Great.
And then anybody made in Mexico. Okay. So what we're gonna do, Steve?
Yeah.
We only have, we just decided to do this now, so we have 2 sets of 4 applications. So we're gonna vote on what?
I see someone's going to be open to.
That must be their hours Friday.
I think it's automatic.
Yeah, that was the mile behind. If we probably got mistaken, to put this, working out. But
No.
what we found.
That was
10
funny.
o'clock.
Kathy
And
was
I think it's
saying
10 o'clock.
refried beans. All right, let's start with these, and because these should be faster. And I don't know why I was silly in not thinking that I can just put them on the screen. So let's start with refried beans on 187 in Fort Washington. So business hours are on their license, right? Is till 11 p.m. and midnight on the weekends, Friday and Saturday. This is their location for anybody who's not familiar.
As we know, these hours might vary from the current operation.
It's what's in this application, if I'm not. Hold on, I'll tell you right now. So they got the bus stop, shelter, the lightweights, not affixed, awnings, lighting.
Well, they can't expand beyond what their liquor license allows them. Like if their liquor license says they can only go till 12 a.m. and they wrote 2 on this, then that's
Yeah, liquor license,
insufficient.
liquor license may say that they can go until 4 a.m.
Right, in which case they can have the outdoor establishment open till 4 a.m. too.
No.
No?
No. The outside dining, right? Has to close by 10 o'clock at night, and the weekends, I believe the latest is 11.
So some of these people are putting like 2 a.m. in the back.
That's the working hour for the
The
regular.
restaurant.
Yes.
I see.
It's definitely.
That's very good to hear. I believe people have a right to keep that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay. All right, so refried beans, here's the map on the screen if you're not seeing it for the frontage. So 4 sets of 4. I feel like they used to have 4 before, no? Yeah.
The thing is, like with the new regulations, it makes it harder for them to switch because it has to be taken off completely. So it's going to be a lot smaller.
They have a clearance for the bus stop that's in front.
It's not clear, so whatever.
Let me try zooming in more.
So Pedro, you're saying that the requirement is they have to close by,
On the weekends, by 11 o'clock at night, and on the weekdays by 10 o'clock. Some of the hours that you see there until 4 o'clock, just doesn't make any sense.
No later than 11 p.m.
Yeah.
I would say that application is confusing, but you're not sure what their intention is as to how long they'll stay open. So I would say that whatever resolutions we pass in each of these cases, we should specify that we expect them to remain open no later than 11 on weekends.
Point.
I mean, isn't that the rules of the program? So we're just writing the rules of the program in the red zone? Okay. Okay. Does anybody want me to zoom in on any other part of this application for refried beans? Does anybody have a copy that we can give Mary and take a refried?
Yeah, but really can't go over that fast anyway, so it doesn't help.
There isn't that much.
There's not, it's just the photos, honestly, and what hours they operate.
Right, because there's 4 of them, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, 4.
And I guess for the residents, right, what matters will be the level of noise that this might produce.
Yeah.
And if it stays open until 10 o'clock on the weekends, on the weekdays, and 11 o'clock at night, with no music on the outdoors, it should be okay.
If you go to their Google,
They
it
don't
says
have-
10 o'clock during the week and 11:30 on Friday and Saturday.
They also don't have, they have a building next door, 2 doors down, but they don't have anybody above directly. Okay.
Aren't there windows to the residential building on the side? Don't we have an issue with that?
With maybe Monkey Room, but refried. Yeah, to the left is Monkey Room, not so refried's in the middle.
Right.
And then Monkey Room's here, so, and Monkey Room's the one that has the backyard in the back.
Way back when, I don't put on my neighbors, maybe better, but way back when they drove me crazy. As far as I know, the 181 Cabrini, they tend to be very sedate.
Okay, so I guess we're good to vote on refried? Or is anyone in favor?
Well, what? We vote on.
We could do that.
In favor.
Oh, I just want Elias, was that Elias speaking?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
So they're asking for a what?
The license.
No, wine and beer, on some, full,
It's
or
whatever,
the sidewalk cafe.
whatever license they have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just,
Do all 4 of them currently have sidewalk cafes? They simply sort of renewing what is already in place?
renewing from the old, regulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
But all 4 of these establishments, have they already had sidewalk cafes?
Based on what I know of them, yes,
Okay.
All 4 did,
So
yeah.
presumably we haven't heard,
no complaints.
anything negative about any of them, right?
The only
What time?
place that we actually had a comment and it was rectified right then was from Public House on 165th and Broadway, Anthony.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the only one,
Okay,
and it was
that's
correct.
fine.
Then the rest all were cool.
So to the point about what we say in the resolution, I think that would help, particularly when it comes to the full board, be clear that establishments have existing cyber cafes and to comply with whatever the new regs are. They are reapplying or doing whatever, but so that folks know what they're being asked to approve and why.
I'll emphasize that.
Okay. On the screen, I put 181 Cabrini. There's some photos for folks who aren't familiar with 181 Cabrini. These are pretty old.
I mean, that can't be at the extent of the sidewalk.
That's the prior, like how they used to have it, not under the no. But it's left and right, basically.
It's something in the street, look up there. I'm looking at the page.
So then, and then this is the, not that. Here we go. Service aisle. Oh, it's actually gonna be bigger.
They're gonna have a lot more tables.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have a lot more tables.
Yes.
Street lights, street curb.
But what?
Sorry. The final rule does say 8 a.m. to midnight, by the way, for every day.
But then to me,
That's the final rule, like the actual regulation that was adopted.
mentioned that there was a.
But music stops it.
Well, you can't
Like, you can't play music.
Where did you see that? Yeah. The DOT's final rule that was adopted is 8 a.m. to midnight every day except Sunday is 10 a.m. to midnight.
Okay, Mary.
How many feet is required between the or the sidewalk cafe and the curb?
They can't see it on.
3
Here's, this says 8.
3 feet?
That's only
for
3 feet.
wheelchair access. That's what's needed.
3 feet?
Yes.
You can't pass each other.
Here it's 8,
For a
For this
sidewalk
applicant.
cafe, minimum clear path along a global corridor may be reduced to 8 feet for a sidewalk cafe that is adjacent to a pedestrian arcade that provides a minimum of 6 feet. So it has to be 8 feet.
It doesn't have to be 8 feet. It has to be within the guidelines of 8 feet.
Yeah,
that, Elisa?
that's what this says.
Yeah, it has to be within 8 feet. It doesn't necessarily have to be the 8 feet because it varies upon the kind of sidewalk that it is. There's certain sidewalks in the city could be 12 feet, and some others could be 8 feet. So if you have an 8 feet sidewalk, you're not gonna get an 8 feet sidewalk because it's gonna take the entire sidewalk. So that really varies upon the sidewalk size that the application is being submitted upon. So that's not a rule of thumb. It's variable, as I said, upon which each situation is unique. Even though the rules is one, when the inspectors come out and they take a look at the sidewalks, they usually take into consideration the size of the sidewalk of the residents.
So guys, anything else on 181? Thank you for that, Ellie. On 181 Cabrini. This is the renderings are what we're going by because the rules are in the same application.
We have that like count
regulation. This is messed up.
quiet. It shows it working very quiet, very good.
Yeah, just tell me to zoom in. I zoom in.
That is it.
There's a street light and there's a hydrant and a street tree.
I don't feel as though I have enough.
This is all the information you will ever get.
But no, but I don't, based on what Anthony just said, if they're allowed to run up to midnight, is there, 181 Cabrini is right underneath an apartment building. Do we want people there, up until midnight every single night of the week? I mean, if they were to come to us and say that they plan to close at 10 or 11 every night, I would feel much better about voting for it.
During the week, it's 10 o'clock.
No, Anthony just said it's midnight.
The final rule does say midnight. I mean, maybe LASR has a different understanding, but I'm looking off of the final regulation and it says midnight every day.
But that's
It's not regulation. That is not what their license
Right.
goes to.
No. So if you have an SLA, you mean the SLA license?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't serve alcohol beyond your SLA license.
That
Well,
doesn't
but-
help, because most of those are till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
No, I agree with Steve, and again, I mean, we're stuck with whatever the rules our geniuses downtown have given us. But, and I don't suppose we can, create greater restrictions, because what we originally heard, 10 o'clock during much more reasonable. Unfortunately, kids don't have school the next day, But some people actually have to get up to work and stuff like that. So, you know, our geniuses on downtown, I believe, have let us down once.
But is this just for the summer?
No, this is their sidewalk cafe, period. So,
April 1st
No,
to
from April.
November 30th.
yeah.
So it extends into the school year?
No, this isn't like a summer thing,
Right.
is what I meant. When what I mean by that, this is all we get, is this is the only information we're provided from around their application.
Well,
So,
okay, the application should specify, and maybe Eliezer, you can take this back. The application should specify when the outdoor cafe will be open. What are the hours of the cafe? It's not sufficient to say, to tell us the
Business
the
hours.
business itself, unless the assumption is that it stays open whenever
Yeah.
the business is open, which in
that's the business hours, midnight.
which in this case, Made in Mexico runs from 2 a.m, 6 days a week, and 4 a.m. on Sunday.
So,
DOT is going to review this. They're going to dismiss those hours here, and they're going to stick with the hours that they have.
Mhm.
It is up to the board to vote however they want to vote. Yes or no?
right, and so that reso within this same application on that page is where we recommend, 10 a.m., 10 p.m., whatever.
If it is our recommendation that the sidewalk cafe, does this X to Y, is there anything that prevents us from saying that in the resolution?
I'm saying what?
No, I'm saying that.
No, because it actually says the community board recommends approval with modifications.
Yes.
So, I mean, if to your point, Steve, if we're saying for the sidewalk cafe, 10 o'clock is a more reasonable time for business to end, we can say that in the resolution.
And prior to this, we have the Jackson rule, right?
That's right, yeah.
So we can always stick to the point where we can ask that the business stay open for sidewalk event until 10 a.m., let's say Monday to Thursdays, and Saturdays until 12 midnight. So we can establish the hours and then send out recommendations.
Sorry, 10 a.m. to what? To midnight?
No.
The Jackson rules, so we had it before.
Yeah.
Before COVID came in.
Yes.
It established that all business can request the sidewalk cafe stay open Monday through Thursday or Friday, I think it was, until 10 a.m., right? PM, I'm sorry.
PM.
And then the weekends until 11 a.m. 11
PM. You know, all this brunch activity, come on.
PM.
Yeah.
So we can establish the Jackson rule.
Yes.
It's a general rule for community board.
Right, because it shouldn't be like one spot gets 1
Right.
hour, another one gets
No.
another hour.
We should say that,
So 8 a.m.
they should all close at 10 p.m. on weekday and 11 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday nights. Or maybe Friday night.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, what?
Friday and Saturday.
Here, 11 p.m.
Are we, but opening hour, what, 8 a.m.? 9 a.m.?
Well, I don't think you're opening. I don't.
No, the opening hours we don't have.
No, but I'm saying for the rule, are we just saying, sorry, the baseline that we're saying is only until 11 p.m. We're not saying the morning hours.
The board position, the application that comes with 11 o'clock will
Okay, yeah,
be rejected. That's
yeah,
what it is.
okay.
The board position is Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. At closes at 10 p.m.
Monday
on
to
weekends,
Thursday, 10 p.m.
11. That's
And
it.
Friday and
For
Saturday.
outdoors. For outdoor.
Yeah.
I'm sensing consensus here.
I agree with it, but I have to raise the concern that at the licensing committee this month, we reviewed 10 of these and we did not apply that standard.
For sidewalk?
Yeah, they were all sidewalk. Weren't there about 10 applicants? So my concern is for consistency, then at the board meeting or maybe at this meeting, we should revise that modification to all of them need to meet this standard.
Start that.
So the reso.
Isidro,
Yes.
question. On the every time that you guys are intaking these applications, are you guys aligning the hours with the dining out program? Like, it doesn't matter which hours the applications say. DOT is very specific as to what the hour says versus what the size of the sidewalks could be. There's really no flexibility about the hours. Is that the case? I'm just asking.
Well, we're just discussing the idea that we can set our own recommendation to DOT in closing hours. we had something that was called the Jackson Rule some time ago, where the community board would not approve anything beyond 11 o'clock during the weekends. And then during the weekdays, it will be until 10 p.m. And that's what we would have to stick by. We have some application for this month, so we can start fresh for when we come back in September.
We can amend those, so. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying, prior to COVID, we had this policy, which we called the Jackson Rule, which had X and Y, we can insert a whereas or be resolved to the other ones, so that now there would be consistent. The ones that we are reviewing tonight and the other ones that will be presented, they will all have that whereas that, we are, reinstituting the Jackson Rule.
Jackson, so how would that,
It's an hour less. If the ruling
If
says till
we-
midnight, we're just saying an hour
would it be
less.
okay if we insert that whereas as a sample of the one that we have this month?
It's a friendly
We're
amendment.
gonna retroactively.
Yeah, I guess
change
that would
all-
be the case.
we're gonna retroactively change all the other ones.
I guess what Wayne just said would
Yeah.
be the way you do it, right? It would be a friendly amendment at the community.
It has to be the same for all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it at the board meeting now.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing.
Yeah, because that will be the open process. But I mean, we would know that, or you could say that you've received a friendly amendment, which is XYZ, but you still want to discuss it at the general.
Are the operators there for the sidewalk cafes?
Not all of them, but many of them were.
Okay.
And
Okay.
What Steve was saying earlier, with this particular one, 181 Cabrini, I don't know if they've ever had complaints, the neighbors.
No, but probably
I don't
not.
think so. They're really good.
They're very quiet, yeah.
But you still don't want people sitting outside your windows until midnight.
Well, they can sit outside.
Happen to wait because they're quiet. Right.
So just for practice, so we can get through this, because it's 7:55. This one is technically, I don't know if it's a new operator, but it is a new business. The Tiny Tapas and Bites. That's where Tabaco y Ron, sorry, Tabaco y Ron used to be. Yeah. They did have Sidewalk Cafe before. I think if I zoom in here, it's not gonna be legible because of the blurring.
It's not legible printed really either.
Oh,
It does say
The number.
on the next page, I believe, the distance.
Yeah, so 8 feet, yeah, so 8 from traffic and from street tree. This is all basic dining out program stuff they gotta do. It's not a fix to the sidewalk.
Look like a penny white color.
It is.
That's 10th Avenue, right?
That's under the one tree.
You can see it up here too, Steve.
214.
So it's under the bridge. Mm.
Remember the one train that people used to north.
Yeah.
That is true. Okay. All right, and then the last one would be made in Mexico. So I mean, still again, still same thing applies, right? The 11 p.m. we would say recommend. Oh great, I gotta flip it. Oh, it's not that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 3.
Change their name. Look at how much money they go.
It's already happening.
Going viral on the social media. It's really great place.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a good spot.
Yeah.
Who enforces the time limit?
That's funny.
People going.
That's the question.
Really, I mean, kicking us.
Who enforces the time limit?
It would be,
Liz Ritter.
Probably in
this
Mongolia.
is under the jurisdiction of DOT. DOT.
Yeah, I think DOT has enforcement authority under the whole regulation.
You think they work at night?
Well, also remember if it's SLA, like, if it's
Or
liquor.
if you go beyond your liquor license.
Yeah, if you go
that's
beyond
what it
your
is.
liquor license
Well,
outside.
the answer is yes. They do have an overnight crew.
Oh,
That's good.
wow.
Yeah, Eliezer isn't charging.
Okay, guys, any questions on this? Because I think we're all clear. All of these, the resos are gonna have that modification, both the ones at licensing and these 4 till 11 p.m.
10 p.m.
11 p.m. weekends, 10 p.m. weekdays. That's something that should be updated for our website.
Well, we were saying 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. And then we'll note in the reso the locations and operators that had existing sidewalk cafes.
Yes, that was
So will you send me those, or they're going to be voted separately?
What, these 4?
Of the general fund.
I think these and we'll lump it together with yours, but just make note that these were voted at exec and not at licensing. Yeah.
I'll go from the bottom. Dominion. Dominion. Yes. So all. Luana,
Yes, to all.
Eleazar,
No, he can't vote. He's in conflict.
Yeah, none vote.
oh,
Yeah. Conflict.
Wayne Benjamin,
Yes.
Pedro,
Yes, you are.
Keith Simon,
Yes, to all.
Joel,
No.
Mary Anderson,
Yes, to all.
I say yes to all. Alexis,
All,
Nisha,
Yes to all.
Anthony,
Yes to all.
and
Yes, all. All right, we got one more reso next. Steve, it's your time to shine.
Okay, well, you'll remember that at our general board meeting, we had several nurses and representatives of the New York State Nurses Association pick it up and talk about the fact that the hospital announced a 2% staffing cut, which is going to eliminate 1,000 positions throughout its system, including where is it here? Including 42 nurses at the Columbia complex over here. So, you know, we again heard from a group of the nurses at our committee meeting on June the 5th. There's a time factor here. We're bringing this before the executive committee because these layoffs are supposed to take effect this week, at the end of this week, June 20th. So we would like to have this resolution voted on and sent to the hospital tomorrow, so that they know our position before these cuts take effect. We have legal resolves and Board 12 understands the need for justice, the victims respectful assault. However, the cost of those reparations should not be imposed on staff who will lose jobs to which they have been devoted and who may have consent to motions. Patients who rely on the essential care they have provided. This resolved comes from the fact that there seems to be a strange coincidence in the fact that these cuts were announced at the same time that the hospital announced a $750 million settlement over the sexual assault claims arising from a former gynecologist. It had to. And there is some speculation maybe the two are connected. I mean, the problem here, if I can say so, is that the hospital has not told us, and then they'll never tell anybody why it these things. Why are they making these layoffs? All they say in the statement they issued on May 20th was that it's a result of macroeconomic realities and anticipated challenges, whatever the heck that means. And so I think, I think a better explanation as to why they're taking these actions and cutting 1,000 staff at this particular juncture. The next resolved is that Committee Board told me and recognizes the indispensable role of nurses and nurse practitioners, particularly those who work courageously throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and who continue to care for some of the city's most vulnerable patients. And the approach of the New York Presbyterian Hospital to immediately reverse the planned elimination of nursing and nurse practitioner positions at Columbia University Irving Medical Center, including those at the Milstein Hospital and the Children's Hospital of New York, and to commit to the continued delivery of high-quality, centralized inpatient palliative and pediatric specialty care in Northern Manhattan. Part of the information that we received at our committee meeting was from nurses who currently serve in the inpatient palliative pediatric specialty care unit, and which are now in jeopardy of being shut down for lack of staff. We thought we should particularly highlight those particular aspects of these cuts.
All right, I'll go put myself last. We'll go around. Yeah, we'll go around the table to Domingo in the back and then this way.
Good. So I'm glad that we are advocating to return the 70 nurses and not the executives. The 6 reported hospital reporting a revenue. Would it be okay to have some reference where you got that from?
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah,
that's it.
What was that reference? Where's
It's on their website.
It's on their website.
So this was voted on in committee? Yes. So.
Wait, what are we voting on?
What is executive? Because the layoffs take effect at the end of this week. We don't want to wait to the general meeting. We would like to have the community board on grid. I understand that. It's timing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was it. Harold, did you have anything? Domingo.
Steve, where's your, we're not voting yet. The source of that paper. I don't have numbers here. I want to see where it goes up. I'll just wait. Where's the money?
Jim, did you have anything?
Yeah. This is the language of the third resolve. Sounds like we're only talking about palliative and pediatric care as opposed to the other care that the hospital renders. So I would say including palliative and pediatric. I don't want to limit.
Okay.
So just stop surgery instead.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
What was your comment?
My vote, not there.
Oh, you're right. Oh, my God.
You forgot Adams?
For shame. There's a whole meeting.
Yeah.
Know your priority now.
Okay.
You're already busy day.
Okay, you're probably in. Okay, for the vote, by the way, was in the affirmative. It was those board members of 1-0-0.
Thank you for this, Stephen. I also would like to bring to the forefront that it is no coincidence that once again, women, particularly women of color, are under attack with this layoff. I intuit that most of the nurses are women and most of them are immigrants and also women of color. So if we can fit that anywhere, and if you accept it as a friendly amendment, I would love to see that as a whereas, because we are in an election year and people need to see that these things are not coincidental and they do affect a certain fraction of the population.
Yeah, let me just double check with the Nurses Association. The group that came to our committee meeting. Carmen, you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay, the group that came to our committee meeting mixed and was at least, I think, half white and
Yeah.
Very strategic.
and maybe I don't know I don't know how many would say that they were immigrants. But what was your sense of this, Carmen? I think a majority of them were women. I think that's.
It's fair to say.
I think
It's an attack on.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And chances are they're probably also primarily women of color, but I'd like to double check.
So if you, I think maybe a whereas can just include those
Yes.
statistics.
Okay, but let me double check.
So that, yeah,
Okay.
only as a friendly, if you think it serves.
Yeah, okay.
I think the terminology is like disparate impacts. And when you compare it.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Though, and that was in the same, my question was around that, like, was it in the same press release, or is it just like, oh, today they announced this and today they announced that?
No, they didn't know, it was not in the same press release. The hospital did not tie the two things together. And frankly, I'm gonna dive into that a little further. It may be that it may be that the announcement of the $10 million settlement came the day before, or it was actually the same day.
So,
We gotta lay people off to pay that.
I don't know, because then that makes me, I think the whereas is fine. I'm just wondering if in the first resolve, then we want to like play with the language a little bit to make it more, so it's not like, oh, the board's saying that this is what it is, but
Yeah.
like that we're cognizant, like, hey, these two are together and we're saying that's not a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, I guess it's not a fact at this point.
More about the timeline and we're timeline, like, if they prior a sexual assault settlement was put in place, and you talked about accessing workers, and all of a sudden, the vast majority of those workers are also women, like, what's going on?
Very good question, that of like these two, you know, in our understanding or our perception, may seem connected.
Yeah, I probably should, yeah, basically because, and I should reinforce the point here, perhaps, in the absence of having, any information otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that the hospital hasn't provided any other information as to why they're taking this action at this particular time.
Mhm.
In terms of your suggestion, for like I suggested previously, you do including or a special, and that way you include everybody else as well, because, you know, white nurses are just as screwed as everybody else, and you male nurses. And the other thing, they anticipated this judgment probably a year ago, already in the calculation. But again, we don't know that for a fact, so the language that wishy-washy language that it's our inference is perfectly reasonable. Probably keep our feet out of our mouth a little bit, but you know, reality is they have to, unless they have, you know, $750 million worth of insurance, which they might, but they probably don't. The money's just not there, and they, you know, they have to pay it. This happens to municipalities also, where they have huge settlements, and basically the city government can't function.
Yeah.
We have this huge city, so we can get away with some crap, not that we should, but you know, we have a multi-billion-dollar budget, a couple of million here or there. But you know, if you're Kankakee, Michigan, or something or another, and you have a big settlement, you're in trouble. You're gonna be able to the street.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have that light.
Yeah. But the aggregate policy limit is not 750 million.
They're gonna use this as a.
So there's two amendments you're gonna make, right? The whereas with your citation, and then you're gonna play with the resolved language, the first resolved language.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make the change that Jim suggested in the last resolve.
Any more questions?
Where it says high quality centralized and
No.
palliative and pediatric.
After.
Palliative and
hospital,
pediatric.
It's gonna say including the continued delivery of high quality.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I got Daryl, off to you.
To the roll call.
Another roll call.
Okay.
Mhm.
Domingo,
Yes.
Juana. Eleazar,
Really?
Eleazar,
He's there.
Yeah, yes.
Wayne,
Yes, I remember.
Pedro. Yes, or something. Steve.
Ben.
Mary. Yes. Mathis. Alexis.
Why not?
Steve.
Yes, as amended.
Okay.
Who am I?
Anthony,
Yes, it's amended.
And
Yes, as amended.
He started a trend.
All right, we got 5 votes. All right, I mean, this was the last June meetings, so shout out committee chairs and vices for making it through.
Kathy, can I just ask something to Steve? Steve, are we not presenting the resolution on the plazas and noise regulation? Or we're gonna leave that to September?
Oh, no, we're bringing that before the full board. So there is another resolution coming out of my committee as a result of the public hearing we held about noise in public plazas, in which we're asking that, oh, shoot, well, you would know. We're asking that permits not be issued for back-to-back events at the plazas to give people some relief. That was an issue, point that came up in our public hearing. We're gonna ask that the number of hours of amplified sound be limited. We're gonna ask that there be bulletin boards or some other venue at each of the plazas where they post announcements about future events. And Carmen, what was our fourth point?
I'm sorry, and what?
Didn't we have 4 points?
We had prohibited back-to-back events on weekends, limited amplified sound to a maximum of 4 consecutive hours, no amplified events past 8, advanced public notice of events, and requiring bulletin boards at plazas. I can't remember the rest. That's what I remember. And enforcement by NYPD somewhere in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll make some reference. Well, you already drafted something. I didn't pass it on its next meeting.
I can't hear.
Coming up with the board next board.
Yeah, but you guys voted on it at committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I forgot that part. That's why, thanks, Steve. We just didn't have all the language, but we did actually technically vote on it. Got it.
The back-to-back, is that
Yeah, what does that mean?
day, 2 days next to each other, or weekends?
Oh, it was 2 days next to each other.
Have an event on Friday and Sunday.
That's not next to each other.
Exactly. Okay.
They could have an event every Saturday.
What's that?
They could have an event every Saturday.
Yes. Yeah, but it's a week apart. Yeah. Well, the issue that came up at the hearing was the idea that there were events on both
Saturdays and Sundays, that's true.
And people had no relief for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this way you can plan to go to the Hampton?
Okay.
And then the amplified one is okay, right? But that doesn't mean that has to stop.
No.
Similar to sidewalk
No,
cafe,
right.
it's just no amplified sound. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I think we can meet for general, like I'd love if y'all at the general meeting, we can get through committee reports and really committee reports, like for you guys just to share things you did in the year, you know, anything of note before we break for the summer. Yeah.
I wanted to bring the fact that what we spoke earlier about the staff. And that is that unfortunately for this month, we have 22 licenses, 22. And the package was really thick in material. And it's usually handed over to me on the Friday before our licensing. This time around came on Tuesday. And on Tuesday I had an event, so I had no time to review the document. I'm sure the committee members had no time to review the document. And there are a lot of questions that we had to ask. And because those documents were not submitted on time to us, I think it's very unfair to us, especially to the chair that has to review every single point on per application. The staff has to be more coordinated to prevent issues like this.
Can I ask a question? Is there a way, or is it feasible? Can we decide to put a cap on the number of applications that we get a month, or no? If you get 40, get 40, you can't stay for this month, we're only accepting 20 applications. Got it. All right, just thought that could be a solution for that, to alleviate a little bit of that.
It wasn't so much about the number of applicants, the issue.
I think it's much more about the date. You know, when people, there should be sort of like a deadline or something, just a thought.
Right.
Like to piggyback off of what Tito said, all of us work.
Most of
So
us
it's like the vast majority of us work, right? And it's like Well,
I don't get paid, but I work.
He works. Yeah, even the retirees at the table work. Meet a retiree that works more than Marion.
but it's like, I probably feel more burdened out this year than I did last. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like, well, yes, workloads are increasing, but it's also like, we have to be real and be like, what is the expectation of it? So, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what, as a chair, I put aside X amount of time for this, but I can get paid for this shit, part of the French. You know what I'm trying to say? And not to say, and not to say that, you know, that we're not like I'm not committed or I'm not passionate about this, but there comes a time that you start questioning like, what support am I supposed to get? And what happens if I don't get that? Like that's what I think, and not to like throw anybody under the bus, but I think that's a question I was asking myself all year. And we would have certain situations, things that we have to do with membership as well. Like attendance in June is tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? Like, you know, and as chairs come together to figure out like how do we improve attendance in June, at least in my case, right? Tanisha to talk on like it was like, oh, it was only 3 of us in the meeting. Saying that's unacceptable. You know, so it's like, what can we like? I felt that that's where I'm at now. Like, hey, what's going on? And shit, like, you know, where's the support?
The staff has to be in better coordination. We cannot allow to have board members to dedicate 5 hours. And the expectation is that we have to review all this document practically in 35 minutes when they come in. It's just not fair. That has never happened, and I hope this doesn't become a trend.
I want my resolution tracker. Like, what happens to our resolutions? I don't even know. We just passed a resolution this last month. So I have to ask what happens to a resolution. Like,
Pass a lot of resolutions.
You know what I'm trying to say? So that's it.
Anthony and then Jen.
Yeah, and just to add to the point that we didn't, not only do we not receive it on time, but you could tell the person who was out of office had to do it when she returned and didn't have the support because there were materials missing. We had 2 members of the public come and ask us, did you all see our comments? And it wasn't in the packet. So supposedly there were members of the public that emailed the office with concerns about a particular applicant. And not only did we receive the whole packet late, but we didn't receive that comment at all. And it's likely because they were rushing to get it to us in the short time that they had.
Even the agenda was missing a lot of things.
Magic word that Isidro said is coordination.
Yeah.
Coordination. The other word I think that parent, I don't know if anyone mentioned it, totally unfair. Volunteers, us volunteers, and the public, you know, that materials are not.
Yeah. No, and the same thing happened at the general. I mean, I've made specific asks like 2-3 weeks ago that I thought would help improve the coordination given where we are in terms of it's June. So the summer is they gotta like practice some stuff, which is part of that coordination. So if I'm out, who's covering me? What do you need? Making sure that type of communication is happening. Because to have stuff like in licensing, it's tough. And then there are things that come to which is why we implemented the main inbox, so that if there are complaints for licensing or somebody, like the applicant submitted stuff on that Friday, right? And the person was out, everybody has access to put together the licensing package. Before it used to be you send it to one individual. Now that doesn't happen so that they can coordinate better. But clearly the ball was dropped this month and last when it comes to that stuff. And I think, yeah, you're right in saying like, I think I've sensed more than one folks in terms of like, sometimes you have to do a little bit more than you should, or you're pushing a little bit more than you normally would, I think, as chairs. So, you know, any kind of like experiences in that regard, if you feel like as a committee chair, hey, this year, especially our vets compared to last year, the year before, it was really tough in this way. That's helpful. I think honestly, the summer is where we're gonna have to have those sit downs and make sure that they're ready for September.
Yeah, I mean, it also impacts sort of the tone and tenor of
Yeah.
the discussion, the general meeting, because I remember at last month's meeting, there were some comments concerning a resolution, and the person presented said something basically, well, like, we discussed this in committee, and you folks should come to, the committee meetings. And of course, it is not realistic for every board member to attend every committee meeting because they have others. But the expectation is that you would get the resolutions in advance so that you can review it. And there was one resolution, I think that's one that we were discussing, where I got it by email while I was sitting in the room, no time before. So I would have to read it on my.
And that one was because of coordination.
Right.
And the reason why, meaning everybody has a different liaison. I may not be the liaison for that committee, but I'm putting everything together.
Yeah.
So in this case, it was an exec committee reso. But how am I supposed to know that at exec committee they passed something? So that's what I'm saying. That communication and coordination doesn't happen as it should. So that way it's like, it doesn't matter at the beginning of each week, this is what happened in each committee.
But I think
And-
when that happens, whoever is presenting it, should be mindful and not take it out on our fellow committee members. 'Cause
I
It's not
understand what
their
you mean.
fault, they didn't get it.
I got what you mean. But regardless, I think this month, yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, if you were telling me it had to do with this, but there's certain things
When
that
we
hit a
did the
nerve. that you're
old-fashioned
like,
way,
"Oh."
and we used to mail stuff out. Believe it or
boy.
not, we got the packages either Thursday or Friday before the board meeting. Now they're doing by email, we're not getting it.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
That's how the bylaws are written.
Well, it took
That it was
us a while, but we
mailed?
get it.
Yes, everything had to be mailed. The notice, the package, it says that.
But it also means those results were submitted super on time,
Well, they're
knowing
not
that they were
in days.
mailed. Yeah. So I think at the general meeting, it'd be good just you guys to share out some of the, things that you're proud of this year, things that you want to focus on for next time. And then, I don't know if anybody has anything to share out tonight.
So I asked for, but I don't see for.
Oh, the Manhattan plan.
Presentation that city planning made to language for the Manhattan plan to be
Yeah.
shared with the executive committee, because just like the inward rezoning commitments, this is something that goes beyond land use. And to be clear, the Manhattan plan is not an actual rezoning or ULURP plan. It's very similar to what we did with the historic, with the landmark survey, where Community Board 12 at HDC put out a survey to ask the community in general, what buildings and areas do you think should be considered? What city planning is doing is they are asking the community, actually the borough of Manhattan at large, what areas do you think, what sites do you think should be considered sites for new housing development? And so they claim that the whole idea is to go out into the public. For example, I think on the 21st, there'll be at Isham Park, they're going to be tabling, getting ideas, but anyone can submit ideas to a email address that's been dedicated for that. By the end of the year, there'll be a report that compiles all of the ideas, and then coming out of the report can be any number of things. But the Manhattan plan is not a plan, but as we discussed it, it's like, okay, so there are planning implications, but this is housing. So Housing and Human Services has, things they might want to say. They also want to let their constituents know that it exists so they can submit ideas. As we started talking about 100,000 new units in Manhattan, what does that mean in terms of schools? What does that mean in terms of infrastructure? So as you start talking about it, there are other committees that will then have questions or ideas that they want to put into that report. So we can email it to everyone, but the point is, it goes beyond land use, and we don't want to be at the end of the year. And the only comments that come from land use are things that are looking at planning and zoning, and folks say, well, then you didn't consider housing, and this is a housing thing. This is the opportunity for anyone. They do not have to go through the committee. to submit directly to city planning, this is what I think you should do,
Yeah, I was gonna say
or
that.
not do. And do we know if they're looking for a presidential report? We mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't, I was gonna say they're gonna be at Isham, but it looks, at least from this, it looks like it's probably the only one, which is they're only doing like one in each district. So we can add the newsletter. Yeah, which is unfortunate. So, but through the newsletter, I think through the board, like the surveys, would be helpful to include.
Yes.
So,
And when's that expected by the April result? September. And Carmen De La Rosa said she would like to co-host. It'll be a special meeting. Well, similar to what you did for the plaza.
okay.
We will behave.
We'll
We'll
do
get out
that.
the.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
It was fine until it ended and then things started to happen. And we were leaving it alone.
Anybody has anything else? Mary and then
This
Alexis.
was good.
No.
Obviously, I ate it all.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Well, about my good part.
was
Just the $2 things.
No, very.
No, Mary and then Alexis I recognized.
I just want to share about the health group that we have.
Yes.
Spring, the aging committee coordinated with the DA's office, Waikoa, Washington, Council. I'm also co-chair of Isabella Presbyterian, Columbia University. The Mills to coordinate this healthcare. Community board, since there were funds available, and we're able to contribute balloons and tablecloths and waters and all that stuff. But we have four tables. Which I was able to help my contacts. And we had over 250 people.
Okay.
Seniors attending the health fair during that day. Gorgeous day. Hot, but there was enough.
Everyone that Friday.
And we also had some tents for some of the people. We also celebrated, had a little, food for Isabella, since it was the 150th anniversary of the Isabella Geriatric Center. And a couple of proclamations for them. And I wanted to say thank you to the board members who were able to come by. It's nice to see people, coming over, saying hello and helping us out. And staff, the office was wonderful. Carol and Joanne, stayed at the table pretty much all day. Got together about 9 o'clock in the morning to get set up. And it was fun. And everybody had a good time. And even though my foot was killing me because I didn't know enough to sit down because I had gone around.
When you're the host.
Saying hello to everybody, I posted those two.
Host stuff.
It was nice.
I love
And,
that.
all the seniors certainly had a good time because I saw them on Thursday, the following Tuesday at the exercise group at the Armory. And they all were talking about it. Actually, prior to that, they were asking about it. So I'm glad that we were able to get more involved this year. than we did.
Great work.
Yeah.
Amazing job, Mary.
200 meals that they gave out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they ran out of meals. City Meals brought 200 meals, figuring that was gonna be sufficient.
Wow.
They ran out.
Okay, so next year we're going bigger.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
meals, you know, really good.
Mm.
They're two separate meals. One's vegetarian and the other one's chicken and some stuff. Yeah,
That's nice.
I mean, it was
Just in preparation for general meeting next week. Should we ensure, because we are anticipating a certain person, certain doctor coming, Dr. Gary.
I got it.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but they just look at me like,
Um,
what are you talking about? Can we make sure that somebody from Columbia Security is there?
I mean, yeah, we could reiterate at the beginning of the meeting. I could reiterate, and I think I put it up to now the code of conduct, but I'll verbally talk about it. And
Just because he, you know,
yeah,
he's
well, last time for the plaza thing, they Noemi got them and they were stationed, so they definitely don't play these days. Jim, but yeah.
Not to ask him questions. Second, you ask him a question, he has a right to resolve. He talks for his 2 minutes and nobody asks him questions. And then he gets his 2 minutes and that's the end of that. The second you ask him a question, he's entitled to answer. And he got like 3 or 4, maybe 5 questions. And that's one of the reasons he got away with talking so long.
I don't know why we invited him to come back this month.
No, no.
We don't invite nobody.
Yes, we did.
There were individuals that asked him to
He-
come back.
he
they
said he-
explained.
but- yeah.
No, one of our members asked him to come back.
Yeah.
And but more information on ABC. It's ridiculous. I mean,
I really don't think it's ridiculous, and I'll tell you why, because he has abused, verbally abused. He
Stalked.
goes to meeting constantly. He overreaches, he calls board members at home. And he has recently threatened to send out a press release denouncing our chair and Manhattan Borough president. So I think at every time,
Man, what's wrong with him?
you know,
Well, again, he has a
Go get a
right.
restraining.
he has a right.
Speaks
Just,
for exactly 2 minutes, and if no one asks him questions,
okay, then I
then
want,
that's the end of that. But
Well,
we have to
that's a
have
strategy, right?
that,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
we can actually make the strategy clear in general.
What if he watches this meeting?
In advance, if you ask people questions, they have the opportunity to talk along. They will ideally put 2 and 2 together.
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, we'll start with the beginning around like the code of conduct, Columbia Security, the 2 minutes. Also, like we need to get through committee reports this month and all of our results, and we still got to be out of there by 9. So if it's like everybody got their 2 minutes and no room for questions, go talk outside, then that's what it is.
and also,
Oh, actually,
it's
that's
supposed to be
a,
clarifying.
Clarifying, yeah, not questions for information, which is
Even
a whole
though-
other thing.
you as chair can announce, unless it's someone totally confused beyond imagination, no questions at all. For anybody,
For the sake of time.
for the sake of time. Now, obviously, if someone said green, they should have said blue, well, that's, you know,
That sounds overly strict.
I'm German, remember that?
Okay, the other thing, and I haven't gotten to it, but I'll do it. I don't know about tonight, but tomorrow. The date for the orientation, so no Luana, you volunteered.
I did, but I need to know the date.
Yeah, so the day I'm gonna
Because I'm
send
gonna
up the
be-
like doodle. I'm gonna send out the doodle for the new member orientation, and then I think I sent you all the materials from last time, so.
maybe. When was that?
Well, you can search. It's July. We said for July. And then I said earlier the big meetup. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Big board meetup, not happening. Let me see if we could squeeze in like a brunch, weekend brunch, like on our own. Anybody who wants to go? Cool.
So what was that supposed to be?
The 28th.
Okay.
It was originally the 6th and the 28th.
Take that off.
I gotta unbook the space downstairs.
To join your committee?
Yeah.
I think there's 2 people who want to join. I think you got new people.
That's all.
Okay. We good?
Motion to adjourn, second. Good night. Thanks, Carmen, for hanging out, and Sonia.
Bye, Carmen.